All right. So today, this is such a special experience, and I'm really a big fan of creating content as inspired. And, Anna, like everything that's going on in your life right now, personally and professionally, just the inspiring life that you've chosen to step into is such a joy to be able to highlight. And I know for me, as I'm looking at women that I want to invest in and, fill groups with and open up to like what the next level of possibility is for them, I think people hearing your story is going to be um, really encouraging. And I think it's going to help people, especially women, because that's going to be the topic today, like helping women figure out what's best for them and how do they make decisions on how to invest in themselves. And also, part of that is like you've been inspired to create programs specifically for women and women supporting women. And so I'm just glad to have someone who has such a robust experience doing this, to be able to share your wisdom with us and with my community, with your community. So thank you so much, Anna, for being here. And I just want to start off just so people can kind of get to know you a little bit. Um, so when did you start working with women, and is Wild what you started with, or was there some other iteration? And can you kind of just give a broad couple minute view of like how you started investing in women intentionally and how that kind of evolved over time?
Yes. Well, first of all, hi and happy to be here. And yeah, when you asked me, to kind of talk about groups and women, I was like, oh my God, this is my jam. This is definitely what lights me up in my business. And so I'm so excited to kind of have this conversation with you. Yeah, I started my business 4 years ago. It's called Wild, and it stands for Women Interested in Learning Deeper. And, I'm a big believer in that, like everything that we create is what we need at that time. So for
Mm,
me, I was in a place where I was very much like, I need connection on it, and not like, me and a therapist or me and a coach together in a room just talking. Like I need to know that there are other people, other women that are also feeling the same way as me, or
mm,
for them to normalize like my experiences in life being a woman. And so, it led me to start Wild 4 years ago, and I'm happy to kind of share, details of what that looked like. Um, but yeah, I mean, it really has it went from Wild and kind of more of a community focused approach, to also incorporating life coaching. So that's really
mm.
my primary role now, with Wild always being my baby. So
Yeah. So 4 years ago, I don't think I realized it was, in my mind, my timelines aren't always, I'm like, I feel like you've been doing it forever. So when was your first event with Wild? 4 years ago?
so 2020, it was, March was the pandemic, and in August I hosted my first women's circle,
Mm,
and I remember feeling like this is crazy. Like, who is going to come to this? We're having to socially distance. Like, I
mhm,
I don't even know what I'm doing. I just know that there's something within me saying you need to offer space for women to talk and share about their life or their struggles or setbacks or wins, like a space for women to like brag and have other women kind of support them. And so,
mhm.
yeah, it started then and has been growing ever since. Um, but yeah, that year, 2020, which was a crazy year for so many. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
when you started, you had no strategy or plan for this becoming almost like a business model or a movement. You just said like you didn't know what you were doing. You were just creating something that you felt like you needed and wanted at that time.
Yeah. I mean, and I think sometimes that's where women like where we'll get stuck is we're so focused on the outcome of something that we just or like I want a movement that's like thousands of women. It's like, okay, cool, maybe one day you'll get there. But really I think it always has to come from a place of like I'm in it too, or I've just been there, and leading and creating groups from that place. And I think women come when they feel like she does get it, like she has been there, she is in it, she's walking the walk with us. And so, yeah, I mean, it felt there was no real structure, game plan. It was a full-bodied yes, which was
Mm,
important, of knowing like, I don't know where this is going to go, but I know that it's important to offer it. And if it's just for me at the end of the day, like it's just for me. And, the first event sold out, and I just kind of rode that wave after.
how many people were there? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I kept it at 20 because again, socially
I mean,
distancing.
that's 20 is
Um,
a lot for a first gathering.
It's a lot. And, I really didn't know. I remember having a conversation with myself before that of just like, all the imposter syndrome that comes up, especially I think historically with women, where we think,
Mhm.
oh, there's jealousy or there's comparison or there's a ranking. And the thing is, when you have like women in a group, m- most times, like 99% of the time, you'll find that everyone is like, I've been there. Like, I so get what you went through. Like, here. Or, wow, like, I didn't realize that that's something I've been struggling with, but you've named it because of your experience and your story. And that makes me feel so connected.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so it kind of felt really scary to be like, I'm gonna see what this is like. And I just thought maybe four people will show up to it. And I think having it sold out, like for me, I was like, wow, there's definitely a need. And feeling that
Mm.
align with what I wanted to do, which was give women a voice in a safe place to discover all parts of themselves and see what can transform from that.
I love that, Anna, because I think, to your points, I mean, and you're a coach, I'm a coach. Like, so often I see people want to build out their vision first, like my 5-year plan before they do their first event,
Yeah.
instead of just, well, let me take the first step and see how it goes, see how it feels, see what the response is, see if I even like it, and then creating from there, right? Based on inspiration and the information that that experience gives you. So I love that you had no strategy. You just started. And now it's been 4 years and it's evolved and it's changed. It's now global, which is so exciting,
Yeah.
because you've gone global too, which is wonderful. Um, I'm curious, what are some of the topics that, like, I mean, you've tackled some really big topics, like just if you could just bullet point or rattle off. And then you've brought other professionals in and other clinicians and people who are experts in these particular themes. But what are some I don't know, like sexy topics, or like, like topics we don't typically talk about that you've brought in and created community around and learning around?
Yeah. Well, again, I really created from a place of where I was currently at, or a place where I felt like this is what I need. Like, I need to talk about this and feel
Mhm.
like somebody else in the room can be like, girl, I get it. Right. And
Mhm.
so, and then naturally, after hosting them for a while, it's really the community that tells you what they need. And if you're willing to listen, like, that's where it forms, is when you're able to be like, oh, okay, like people are really wanting this.
Mhm.
But yeah, some of the topics were, a popular one was like sex and like what is that like for you? What's your relationship to sex? Like,
Mhm.
how is it with your partner? And just having women really normalize like human experiences or experiences as a woman in a partnership around intimacy.
Mhm.
Other women being able to voice that of like, oh, I don't even know what intimacy is is like for me, or what it looks like for me.
Mhm.
We talked about money, which was huge. We had topics on boundaries, on body image and like body love, and what does it look like to, yeah, to be at peace with your body.
Mhm.
Um, Gosh, so many, like sisterhood, like big friendship, like kind of what does that look like, which is a big one that flags for women of
Mhm.
like having close people near them that are women that feel like they can fully trust.
Mhm.
It's kind of rare, like that we really can feel like I have my crew of women and they are like the most supportive ever.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, lots of other topics, but sex, boundaries, shame,
Mhm.
anxiety, self-love, the feminine, leaning into pleasure and joy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know
very
you've
good.
also done like miscarriage, fertility, loss, grief, like not just the high tones of like pleasure, joy, goodness, but also some of those lower tones of the things that we just don't like talking about oftentimes. And just it's
Yeah.
incredible, right? And I have the privilege of hearing from you often like the stories of, women who have experienced, right, healing, connection, community. I mean, real true life change. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like because of these environments that you've created, you might not actually be the person creating that life change in them, right? But that's what they're receiving as a result of their openness and their willingness to be there, right?
Mm,
Um, I'm curious, have you ever taken inventory on how many like events you've held in those 4 years with Wild, or like how like everything from workshops to
mm.
full moon circles to, I mean, hikes and camping and all the things that you guys, have created together. Have you ever counted how many you've done?
Yeah, there's around 70 plus right now. And about
Wow.
100 or so women that have come through our doors. And yeah, so what started as one idea has morphed as I've changed, right? And I
Yes.
think even talking about grief, like for sure, grief has been like the underlier in all of the circles and all of the programs that I've run. It deserves a special place. And it deserves to be held and nourished and nurtured. And it's important. And so definitely that's been a huge part of all of my offerings. But yeah, it's crazy to look back and be like, oh my gosh, so many different offerings that I've held over the years, and just now being able to have it global, like you said, is wild in its own, pun intended there, but in its own
Yeah.
way. Very special.
Wow. So over 70 events, over 500 women have been impacted by this. Like just your willingness to say yes to something you wanted and needed 4 years ago. And, in that 500, I mean, you've certainly invested personally just as an individual coach and in smaller coaching groups, right, with a lot of them. But I think what's so amazing, at least this is my experience of coaching, I'd be curious what your experience is. The impact can be so much greater than we know,
Mm.
right? Whether people are reading your newsletters or watching you on social media. My experience is that like there are people we don't even know personally who are receiving the value of things we've put out or things that we've invested in a long time ago. Maybe even this video, right, will be something someone finds a year or two down the line and it's exactly what they need at that moment. But I just think like that concentric circle, the ripple effect of just one person saying yes to creating community with women is so incredible.
Mhm.
That's amazing, Anna. Congratulations. That's like, I mean, it's just really stunning to be able to have real data, real numbers, and to be able to be like, wow, like look what was created from one simple yes, right? And then your
And
own community and your own healing that's happened as a result of you taking leadership, right, and helping other women connect too.
oh my gosh, like we're all mirrors, for one another, even as if you're the facilitator of it. Like
Hmm.
it has forced me to grow in ways that I haven't even, I never thought this is the way I'm going to grow or this is the path. But you hear other women speak in any sort of container, group, circle, program, and even as a facilitator, you're like, oh my gosh, like that thing that they're talking about, I'm totally going through
Yeah.
myself. And what a luxury to be in a space with other women. Because it's like that one person that's coming to an event, to a circle, to a group, to a program, whatever reason they said yes, like it's like knowing that there's this invisible cord that aligns every single one of us. It's not just our womanhood, like our femininity. It's like this other part of like, I said yes to this thing, and maybe I'm super scared about it. And maybe I don't know what the outcome is of this. Like, but I'm here. And that is kind of the medicine that I feel like grows, way past leaving a group program or completing a group program or a course or,
Mhm.
a circle. So
Mhm.
yeah, but thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a journey.
So like as we kind of pull this to the final kind of points here and looking at, I mean, what's the value that can be created, the transformation that can be created for people in a group, whether that's a training or a 6 month long group that's more of a deep investment. I'm curious, like what are some of the top themes that you've seen people really shift in, change in, adopt, implement? Like what are the points of transformation and examples that you've seen most commonly?
Yeah, I'll share so many things. First of all, I think especially when you can have when you're in that group setting and you can hear what other people are maybe working on, maybe it's a project or they're on the other end of it, like I don't know if I want to be in this relationship or whatever it is. Like um your wheels start to turn, right? As the observer in that, as the other participant. And I think that's really helpful to be able to like they people then take that and apply it to their life. That's a lot of the transformation that happens is when we're able to listen, receive, and then apply
Mhm.
it in our own life. But yeah, I mean, I just one of the women in one of my group coaching programs came in and she wanted to talk all about like her business and this big identity shift around, grieving one business and stepping into another. And after all that time together and within the group, like I really saw, what she came in with was not what she left with, right? What she came in with was like this kind of like, here's the structure and here are the logistics and here's what I need to do. But really, I witnessed her kind of drop from her head to her heart, like just really focusing more, tuning into the body. What actually feels aligned to me? What do I need in this? Like, how can I show up in my life in a more transformative way? And once we completed, I mean, now she's become a facilitator for this like embodied flow movement where she's guiding like hundreds of people online to like move their bodies, right? It's like she came in for business, she left with so much more than that. And I could tell you so many stories just like that or women that have become best friends or women that start working for the other woman who has a business and they hire, they hire the talent and the talent happens to be in the same room as them. So um, yeah, it's incredible what happens when we're in those kind of spaces together.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'm sure there's countless stories, right? And so many stories that we don't even know about what can occur in the groups that we facilitate. And right, I didn't even realize right before we started recording, right? You had done Exceptional Women, a group that I had. Carly, another woman, had done it. You guys connected through that. That was like 3 years ago. It was a while
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
She moved abroad, you moved abroad, you both got pregnant around the same time, you participated in each other's programs, you right?
yeah,
Like how amazing that that relationship evolved over years and that you're in such a similar life phase, right? As well. Like what a beautiful thing that none of us could have ever planned. You had no idea you were going to move abroad, right? So um I love those magic moments that can occur. And one of the things that I think, I didn't share about this at the top, but I think this is a great note for us to kind of conclude on is like, what's the recipe for, because not all events are created equal. There are a lot of events out there for females that I've been a part of that have felt icky or gross or pushy or even combative or right, whether it's a networking group or even some that are in like the healing space, right? So
yeah,
not all events and environments and groups are created equal. And I don't mean that in like a good bad comparison. I just mean it's not for everyone. And I think one of the unique things that, I and you ascribe to, you and I, grammatically correct, ascribe to is this real idea of intentionality. I'm not just
yeah,
doing this event for the sake of doing it. It's like there's a purpose, there's a deep intention for like, here's why I think this topic or theme or experience is important. Here's what I hope people receive from it. Here's my
yeah,
intention and how I want to show up, right? Like supportive, loving, connected to my own creativity in the moment, right? Being open and flexible to if the group has a different, right, topic coming up, that you can pivot and accommodate that.
yeah,
So like the nimbleness of that, the organicness of that, but then really holding a strong intention, like this is the kind of woman who will benefit from this. This is the kind of process, this is the kind of transformation that is intended to be experienced through this. So I'm just curious, like, are there other aspects around intentional programming, intentional groups, intentional nurturing of women that you think are really key? And aside to that, like, so are there other parts of that recipe that you want to add other than
Yeah.
intentionality and openness, right, to as energy leads? And then the other part is, what would you encourage women to consider before they enroll into a workshop, a training, a group, right, a women supporting women function? So
Yeah.
kind of two things, the recipe, qualities, and then what should women keep in mind according to your experience?
Yeah. So I think the qualities that I've adopted when creating anything, a circle, a workshop, a coaching program, a retreat, like is aligned material, meaning like, am I aligned with what I'm trying to teach you or what I'm trying to like share the space with you about? Because if I am not, and I'm just created something because I think somebody might like it, like it doesn't work. It doesn't land, it doesn't resonate because we're not in it. So I really think that any facilitator, any person like really needs to think about like, am I, yeah, do I jam? Do I vibe with the thing that I'm talking about? Or is this
Mhm.
all BS and I'm just telling them how to do it? Um, I think that's one. I think integration and connection is like a key point as well of just yeah, having an opportunity for people to integrate what they know. So whether
Mhm.
that's like sacred pauses within the group, allowing space at the end for them to really talk and get to know each other on more of a kind of human to human, woman to woman level, rather than like here's material that we're looking at working on together, right? Like here's the curriculum. But I think integration is super important. And I think safety, like making sure that you're
Mhm.
creating from a place of like really safe and intentional holding rather than like I'm in this to, make money or I'm in this to just like check this off my list. And
Mhm.
women can really feel that. And I think women that are looking at groups and that are like, is this for me? Is this not? Like, first of all, trust your gut. There's, trusted enough, right? There's a bit of discernment here where it's like there could be a bit of a like nudge, a bit of a, sometimes I call it a flare up. There's this part of our body that's like, ah. And sometimes we'll use that and we'll be like, no, 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 it means that it's not right for me. But my
Mhm.
invitation is for anybody like looking, thinking about should I join or not, is really slowing down with that part. It's like, well, what here is scary? And what does that fear want me to know? And
Mhm.
oftentimes it's just the ego being like, don't touch the edge of the comfort zone. There's going to be growth, and then we have to like change course. Um, I think that's really the biggest thing I would say for any woman looking at a group or a program.
Mhm.
And just trusting that, if it's okay for me to share, when I joined Intentional Woman, um, sorry, not
Exceptional
Exceptional Woman,
women. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My
um,
group. Yeah.
Intentional Women, both.
It
Um,
is. I mean, it is
you know,
intentional women, but yeah, yeah.
yeah, both. Um, I was in a lot of debt. I
Mhm.
didn't know if this was the right, I didn't know what I wanted, but there was something
Mhm.
within my gut that was flared up that was like, reach out, like just see, or, I'd been watching what you were offering and all of that.
Mhm.
And really, even when I said yes, I was like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna like do this? And I left the program and I launched my first program and I made the exact same money that I invested, like to the
Wow.
T without noticing or without trying. It really came from the heart. So I think trusting that too, like the part of you that is
Mhm.
watching and is observing. And
Mhm.
it's like
Mhm.
you could always tell yourself it's never the right time, but your body will kind of lead that part. So yeah.
Wow, Anna, thank you for sharing that. I don't think I realized, maybe you had told me at one point, but I don't think I had realized that you had made your investment back as a result of the group, right after that, as you had led your own. The wonderful thing I think about facilitation is that we, as the facilitators and the coaches, we are never really sure what the results are going to be. right, for
Mhm.
someone, because and this kind of goes to anyone who's watching about like things that you should be intentional about asking yourself, right? What process you could go through it before you enroll into something is like, um, what would I like to get out of this?
Yeah.
What would make the investment worthwhile?
Mhm.
Why now? Like, is this particular time in my life or my work or whatever, right? Is it appropriate for me to, or is this just more? Do I think it's a should? What do I want to contribute, right, to these other women in the group? What would I like to
Yeah.
receive and walk away with? Which sometimes we don't know because it's such a, as you know, being a part of a longer term group versus like a 1 day event, even though 1 day events can be life changing for sure, the
Yeah.
deep connection and the deep implementation and the deep learning that can come from an extended group, right? Really invites someone to really consider like, who do they want to be at the end of that 6 months? Right? What do they want to leave with? What kind of person? And you know this, Anna, like someone who comes in, they will only experience the amount of change they're open and willing to engage in. So there are lots of people who maybe come in and they leave with a 2 or a 3 value point, but for them, that's fine, that's enough. Other people come in with a 10 and they're like, I'm here for all of it. I want to totally change, right?
Mm.
And then they leave with the 10 because that was their intentionality. So everyone's in a different place. And I think that that kind of dynamic is so amazing, right? For a group and for everyone to have a different experience for themselves, right? Through that, which is so great. But another thing for people to consider, I think, too, is like, why this facilitator, why this leader, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that, there's so many women like us who are doing incredible real work that helps women attune to their inner wisdom. Like, I love that you talked about that body wisdom.
Mhm.
So I think that's so huge, and that's really important for women to check in with before they enroll into something too. Is
Yeah.
like, yeah, what's my gut check on this? Does this feel like a should, or does this feel like an invitation into a new level? Um, so with that, Anna, I mean, first off, I just so appreciate you sharing openly and honestly. I love your authenticity. I always have. And for people who are watching this who might want to connect with you for either events or individual coaching, where can they go to find out more about that?
Yeah. So, yeah, first of all, thank you again
Hmm.
for having me. And um, yeah, I mean, you do incredible work. And it's like when I signed up for your program years ago, it was because the gut was there. And also the part of me that was like, I like how
Hmm.
she carries herself. I like how she went from working in corporate to creating her dream life. Right. So
Mm,
it's also like picturing, you know, picturing what you truly want and like
mm,
if anything possible, what would that look like? And we often, if we're willing to receive, those people like you, they show up. And that's when we say yes to a program. So anyway, if people want to know more information about my group coaching programs or my one-on-one mentorship, all that, it's annaprestoncoaching.com.
great.
And they can also, yeah, search me on Instagram as well. Same
Perfect.
name.
I'll
Yeah.
put both of that in the show notes description too, so people can link to that as well. And then, I mean, the timing of this is kind of uncanny because, as you know, I have a new version of Exceptional Women that's launching at the end of March. This is the year 2024, as people will see when they see this video, which is great. And being able to like this is the third time I've led it, to be able to take all of the learning from those experiences with women like yourself and so many others over the years and to create a new version of that, which
Mhm.
is slightly longer, and there's a few spots left. So if this video resonated with anyone, and Anna's experience, I'll also link to the program I'm running if you're interested in that too. So the more the merrier, right? This work is such a privilege to do, and to support women is, I think right now, especially timely and meaningful. So Anna,
Yeah.
thank you for your time. Thank you for your investment in the world and in the women in your life. Thank you for being willing to come on and share a bit about your story. And yeah, I just appreciate you. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, such an honor. Thanks.
All right, we'll stop.